guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to do a DIY and show you guys how I put down the vinyl floors. When I showed my bedroom tour, I got a lot of interest in it. So I figured why not show you guys. It's such an easy DIY. It's like totally beginner level. So first I'm going to show you what tools or products I have. And these are the tiles I picked. I just have this, I have little cut off pieces to show you guys. And I got these from Lowe's. If you go to Lowe's.com and you type Safari Brown, these will be the item that pops up, but I'll include a link for you guys too. So these are 98 cents a square foot. It's a 3-foot long plank and it's about 4 inches wide, so 98 cents a board. So that is the flooring I'm working with. And the tools I have that I'm using, I've got a razor knife, and I've got some needle nose pliers. These come in handy if you're making a cut on the end of a board that's only like a tiny piece. It's a lot easier that you could just clamp it and break off the little edge than to try and pull it off with your hands. So that is all I'm using. If you wanted to, you could use some kind of like a metal edged ruler or something for the cuts, but I just use another tile. And I'm going to show you guys how I do all of that. It couldn't be simpler. So I'm going to show you, before I start the DIY, just a few tips that are going to make it go smoother and easier. And in the long run, it'll pay off big time. So let me turn the camera around, and I've got some of the floors started. I'm in the living room now. I've done the dining room and the bedroom so far. And I'm about halfway through the living room. So I wanted to kind of show you guys how I go about the process. So before you do anything, the most important thing is to make sure that the floor is as clean as you can get it. And I like to go over it with a broom, then vacuum it, and then mop it in addition to that. Because anything on the floor, even the tiniest like pebbles, are gonna make your tile either not stick or crack if something gets stuck underneath of it. So the first thing to do is clean it really well. Now that you've got it clean, you want to decide which way you're going to lay the tiles. And you can see my laminate went long ways across the room, which to me always made this room, it's a narrow, long room to begin with, and it made it seem like a bowling alley kind of. So I wanted these to run from the front door to the back of the house because I feel like it kind of draws your eye through the house and it just flows better. So I changed the layout. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is to kind of choose your starting point wisely. So here were my options. I'm running from the front door all the way over to here. So I am going to start at the front door. And what I mean by start is that's where I'm going to start laying the tiles. So the uncut ends are here. The cut ends will go down by this baseboard, which I will show you that now. Because it's impossible to get them 100% perfect. They're a little teeny bit off on each one, but I'm going to go through after. I'm going to paint this little quarter round molding, and then I'm going to caulk it. So you're not going to see any of these tiny imperfections, where if you put the cut end at the front door, you would, because there's no molding to cover it. So I always start where my eye is going to be focused the most, which is usually at the entry of the room, and then I kind of flow the tiles throughout it. And now that I've mentioned that, the one last tip I have is that I work in kind of like rows. So you'll notice I started one here to show you guys, and I ended right there. So I work in maybe 3 max, but I make sure that the innermost row is always the longest one I'm working on, because if you're off by even a hair and you do like a whole section like this, by the time you get to that end, it's going to throw the whole floor off. So it's easier to start at one and just go all the way down and build it up that way. So now that I've told you those tips, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to put the product down. It's super simple, and let's get started on that. All right, so you'll notice I've got my tiles separated into 2 separate piles here. This is the ones that have been cut, and these are the ones that are still full length. Now I save all these till the end. There's a couple of things I like to use these for. So I like to use them as kind of like a straight edge when I'm cutting another tile. I also use them to stagger the tiles, which I'll explain more in a second. And then I also keep them because I always like to cut off a small piece to keep in my little swatch book. That way I have like the flooring and the wall colors and all like that stuff together when I'm out shopping. But let me tell you what I mean about staggering. So you don't want to just start one long tile at each way because you're going to end up with like a vertical or a line across your floor. So you can see I put a cut piece here. This one here is a full length one. Then here, like you can see, what I mean is by staggering. I stagger the lengths of them because then where the boards end, it's going to look more realistic. So like we have one ending here, we have one ending here. Otherwise, they're all just going to end across on a straight line, and it's going to be really obvious that it's not hardwood. Now, I mean, if people touch it, it's obvious too, but when you look at it, you want it to look as realistic as possible. So you can see down the length of the floor that they all stagger and end in different spots. Good? All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and stick the tiles down. You'll notice on the back of them, they have some arrows, and I just try and point them towards the door because it's easier to remember. So all you do is peel the back of the tile off, and then you're going to push it in really tight where it joins the other ones. And we're just going to do this all the way down to the wall, and then I'll show you how we cut in the tile at the very end. So here we are at the wall. You can see that this one needs to be cut, and these are really easy to cut. You just put it into position next to it, line it up so it's flush against this tile, straight against the wall. Then I'm going to use this little piece of tile I have just to get a straight edge. Match it with where the last tile ended. Hold it down, and you're just going to score it with the utility knife, and the tile will snap. They're really easy to cut. So now we've got our cut, and we just go ahead and stick it down.